we've already sown quite a lot of seeds this year. We've sown seeds in January, February, March, April, and even May. And we don't often associate June with sowing seeds. It's often months like March and April where we get a lot of our seeds sown. But there are a lot of things which you can still sow in the month of June, and this, oh gosh, dropped them. This is our pile of seeds here, and these are some of the things which you can sow in the month of June. Still lots and lots of things, so don't worry if you've not sown anything yet. It's still early days yet, and there's still time to get a lot of things sown. So this is my list of things that you can sow in the month of June, and some of these things I'm going to be sowing as well, and I'll be talking through with you what I'm doing with some of these vegetables that I'm sowing. But before we get into the June sowing video, I'd just like to say, if you're new to the channel and this is the first time watching my videos, if you hit that subscribe button and press that bell icon, you'll never miss whenever I upload new videos like this in the future. Now, with all that being said, let's get right into the video. What can we sow in June, and what am I sowing in the month of June? But firstly, it is late to sow things like peppers, aubergines and tomatoes. You want to be sowing peppers and aubergines around January, February time really, and tomatoes around March or April. Unless you live in the tropics, it's too late to get these sown. So you're best going to the garden centre and getting some starts if you wanted to grow peppers, aubergines and tomatoes if you've not already sown them. So get yourself down to the garden centre and get those in June. Now, the first thing on our list is something really simple. I'm going to be sowing some more annual herbs in the month of June. I've got some coriander, I've got some sweet basil, and I've got some parsley as well. I'm going to sow a few more of these at home, I think. I've already got quite a bit of basil growing already around the allotment, but I'm going to sow some more coriander and parsley at home. I've got a little herb planter at home. I prefer to grow herbs at home because I can just pick them quickly, because I often forget to pick herbs when I come down to the allotment. So I'm growing herbs at home, but annual herbs can be grown at any time of year really. Even if you're growing them in the winter, you can just grow them indoors during the winter time on your kitchen windowsill. So June is a great month for growing annual herbs. Now, the second thing which you can sow in June, which I might actually sow more of because I've had a little bit of slug damage on my first sowing, is courgettes. Got a few varieties of courgettes here. We've got some Black Beauty, we've got some Defender, and we've got some Shooting Star ones, some climbing courgettes. Yellow ones, I found they don't really taste any different to the green ones. They're more of a novelty, to be honest, but these are a climbing variety. I've got those outside now. The slugs have had a good nibble on them though, so I think I'm going to sow more of these in June. But June is a perfect month for sowing courgettes because they do grow really quick, and in fact it's often better to wait until June to sow your courgettes because they grow so fast. They're not frost hardy either, so if you get a frost in May you may lose them. You can start them off undercover in pots like I do, and then I stick them outside because I like to protect them from the pests. Or I'm assuming you're past your last frost date in June. Most people are in June. You can sow them direct outside without any problems. I don't like to do that though because of the pests. As soon as that courgette seedling comes up, the slugs have completely demolished it before it even gets its first set of true leaves. So I like to do them undercover first. Now, the third thing which you can sow in June is beans. We already sowed beans in April and May, but June is still a good month to sow your beans. I've got a few varieties which I'm growing. I do like my beans. One of our favourite things to grow beans. I found that the French beans especially are really delicious. I love the homegrown French beans. They just taste absolutely amazing. But we've got some runner beans outside. I save my seed every single year. I've got a few of those growing. I've also got some climbing French bean, Blue Lake as well. As I said, I do like my French beans. But we're also growing some dwarf French beans as well for some easier picking and quicker harvests. I've got a couple of varieties of those. I've got some tender green. I've got a bed of those outside now, which we planted out a couple of weeks ago. And we've also got some more French beans here, some opera, or opera, however you want to pronounce them. More dwarf beans there. I'm going to sow more of those in June because I've got a big space which is going to get freed up in the next couple of weeks. I've got a big bed of garlic outside and I'm going to be planting some things out there. I don't like leaving space to go fallow and to waste. So I'm going to get these dwarf beans in there. It's going to be shared with a couple of other things which I'll go over later on. So dwarf beans, great for successionally sowing. You can get a few sowings done throughout the growing season for some continuous harvests. So the third one was beans. Now our next thing on the list is something which I've already sown around 3 times this year, and that is because of the blimmin' slugs. The slugs just keep going for them, and it's a never-ending battle, to be honest. I'm getting a little bit sick of it, to be honest with you. First thing is carrots. Now, I'm getting sick of sowing these now. I had to sow some more a couple of days ago again because the slugs just keep bulldozing the entire lot. I've got some autumn kings and I've got some early nantes as well. And yeah, I've had to sow more of those, which is a real pain. But it's all right though, because you can get away with sowing carrots at this time of year just fine. Especially if you're growing early nantes, which are a faster growing variety. And the autumn kings aren't going to be ready to harvest until autumn anyway. So yeah, I've got some more carrots sown again. And yeah, June is not too late to get them sown. You can still get them sown in June just fine. Now we can also sow some more parsnips in June as well. It actually says sow mid-March to mid-May on here, but to be honest, the seed packet, I don't really take that much notice to what it says on the seed packet. It's just a rough guide really, and it depends where you live as well. Different areas of the country, different areas of the world have different climates. Like on the packets of tomato seed, it says sow from January. Now I'm not going to sow my tomato seeds in January. I only get them sown around March time really, possibly even April sometimes. So you know, it's just a rough guide and I don't take it too seriously. But parsnips, I've got another lot sown again because the slugs just annihilated half of them. So yeah, June, get your parsnips sown if you haven't already. Now we can also sow sweet corn in the month of June. I've not actually got any sweet corn seeds here because I've already sown them. I planted mine outside a couple of weeks ago, but because they're such a fast growing crop, don't worry if you've not sown them already because June is a good month to sow them. Get them started off in modules under cover or just plant them outside direct, but do watch the mice and do watch the slugs because they will go for the young plants and the seeds. Mine are doing okay outside. I think they're around about 8 inches tall now. We are having some rubbish weather at the moment though, so they are growing a bit slow, but hopefully things start picking up soon. Now we'll go over some salad crops which you can sow in June, and the first thing of course is mixed salad leaves. This is a really nice packet of mixed lettuce leaves, and I grow these every single year. I've already done a couple of sowings. I did some in February and I also did some in April as well. So my first lot of lettuce is just coming into harvest now. We've just started picking those. Our second sowing will probably be harvested in a few weeks time, and I'm going to get another sowing done as well because I want a continuous harvest. Lettuce are a really good one for successionally sowing, as are beetroot as well. Beetroot are another good one for successional sowing. This variety is called Boltardy. Good bolt resistant variety, so it's unlikely to bolt unlike other varieties. I've got a few of those outside in this raised bed actually. I've got an earlier sowing which I sowed in modules which are coming along pretty nicely. They've started picking up now. They were quite slow to begin with, and then we've got another couple of rows which we sowed a couple of weeks ago as well, coming up nicely. I'm probably not going to sow any more in the month of June because I've already got quite a few already, but if you want to successfully sow beetroot, you can get more sown in June just fine, and even July actually, because they do grow pretty fast in the summer. Now I'd just like to go back to the mixed lettuce leaves again, because things are starting to warm up now and lettuce is a cool season crop. So if you're sowing these in June, you may want to keep them in a shaded location in your garden, because if you put them in a location that gets direct sun in July, you're going to end up with them bolting and going to seed, and you don't really want that, because lettuce is just going to taste bitter and you're not going to be able to eat it. So if you're getting your lettuce sown in June, do make sure that you leave it in a shaded location in your garden. Lettuce can cope quite fine in the shade anyway, it doesn't mind a bit of shade. Now, more salad crops. If you want to grow spring onions, get them sown in June. Radish, which is a really fast growing crop, get them sown in June as well. Now, June is also a good month for sowing things like pumpkins and squashes. So other members of the cucurbit family, we went over courgettes before, but squashes can also be sown in June just fine. I've got a few down here actually. I've got some pumpkins here, and I've got a butternut squash plant here. I'm really impressed with this. I've got a couple of plants like this. Look at the size of that. This is going to go in the polytunnel, and I'm going to train this up a support which I'm going to make. Video on that coming soon. I've got a little vertical growing special which I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to be doing a lot of supports for various different plants in the polytunnel, and butternut squash is one of them. And my pumpkins here are going to be going outside when the garlic comes out, alongside the beans as well. So yeah. Now, I sowed my potatoes in March and April, and to be honest, I've still not sown all of them. I've still got quite a few here to plant, and that's what I'm going to be doing in June. These are main crop varieties, so it is a bit late, but if you've not sown your potatoes yet, get them sown in June. You might just get a crop towards the end of summer and into autumn, just a little bit later. These are blight resistant varieties, so I'm not too concerned about these and the blight late in the growing season. Now, if you've got first and second dailies on the other hand, June is a really good month for still getting them sown, because they will mature much quicker in as little as 12 weeks. So you're still going to get a crop during the summer. So June, I'm going to be getting these potatoes planted. I'm just going to throw them in somewhere. I've got space really. They are shriveled up a little bit now, but they're fine. They will grow and we will get a crop. Now, the last thing on our list of things which you can sow in the month of June is brassicas. We've got loads of brassicas here, which some we're going to plant for next year, and some we're going to successfully sow so we can get some more harvests this growing season. And we've got some cabbage, Golden Acre Primo, and we've got some broccoli as well. Now, on here it says sow the broccoli from April to May, but that's just a guide. We're going to sow them in June, and hopefully we can get a crop before the end of the growing season. With the cabbages, I've already got one raised bed of them outside, which is doing pretty well now. And we've got a second sown here, which really need to be separated. They're just in this mushroom tray. And yeah, I've let them get a bit big. I should have really potted them on sooner, but that's fine. We'll pot them on, and then these will go out after those, hopefully. And then we're also going to plant some things in preparation for next year as well. Purple sprouting broccoli, I'm going to get them sown in June, and then we're going to get the plants to a decent size in pots before they go outside, probably where the garlic was or where the onions were when I've harvested the onions. And then these will give us a crop early next year during the hunger gap. These are a really good one for the hunger gap, because they'll give us a lot of pickings of purple sprouting broccoli early in the growing season. I've heard a lot of people say, why is my purple sprouting broccoli not producing any broccoli? And that's simply because it's a biennial. It produces its crop in its second year. So you'll grow it in its first year, overwinter it, and then you'll get a crop the following spring. Now, I've probably not got that much space left to get any more brassicas sown, but I'm going to try a few swede this year, because I will have quite a lot of space opening up for planting more things once my garlic's harvested and once my onions are harvested. I'm going to have a lot of space. Now I've got more brassicas here which I'm going to overwinter and grow over the winter months. And what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to use my 30-litre buckets which I'm growing my potatoes in, and once I've harvested those I'm going to keep the compost and I'm going to grow some brassicas over winter. And I've got some cabbage, Maribel F1, which is similar to January King. I've got some spring cabbage there, wintergreen, April as well. These are really nice actually. We've just picked a few of them now from in the polytunnel and they're really tasty. So we're going to sow a few of these winter cabbages in June, just like with the purple sprouting broccoli, and we're going to get them to a decent size, and then we're going to plant them into our 30-litre buckets to overwinter. That's the plan anyway, so we'll see what happens there. Because I've found that when I've harvested my potatoes, I've got loads of compost left and I've just got these buckets of compost sat around for the rest of the winter. So I may as well use them for something and get some brassicas planted in there. Or I may even get some garlic planted in them as well, because I have got about 50 of them. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do over the winter. But I think that's it. I say that's it, it's quite a lot of things. But yeah, those are the things which you can sow in June, and some of those I'm going to be sowing in June as well. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and I do hope you found it useful. If you did, hit that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you never miss whenever I upload new videos in the future. So that's all for now. I will see you in the next one. Happy gardening and stay safe.